and no one would be the wiser either. What I'm curious about, did you all ever read that? I think if it was on Reddit, maybe it was on like Bleacher Report or something. But anyway, it was about a guy who basically was talking about how he made an investment on like from a fantasy basketball team that he was doing, and it was a whole bunch of like Celtics fans, and this is early like 2010s message boards, and a whole bunch of Celtics fans, they all did a fantasy basketball league together, and he just made sure that he sucked super hard for like 3 years, 4 years, and just got all the picks that he possibly could. And then the second that any of these young guys would have a good game, he would trade them to get more picks. And then he built up this thing that by I think it was 2017 or so, that people weren't wanting to play in the Dynasty League anymore just because he was that far ahead and he had all of the good people. Like, it looked like someone basically said, let me stock my roster with all of the best people and my bench them with all of the best people. And then I still also then have all of the picks for the next like 3 years after that. It was just absolute insanity.
And that man's name was Sam Hinkie.
I just, basketball to me, and here, let me actually get started just before too long.
By the way, we're gonna shit on the Clippers, right?
Yeah,
today?
Of course. Are you kidding me?
So it's actually good that you had me on because I have a lot of fuel for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were literally describing trust the process. Like, the problem is with like why trust the process works in the NBA and like tanking your team for multiple seasons is nobody can leave. Like, none of the owners are just gonna be like, fuck this, I'm not gonna field the team next year, I'm gonna leave. Like in a dynasty league of some sort, like people could just not play the next year. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, they go find another dynasty league. There's only one NBA. What are you gonna do? Go join like the Euro League basketball?
Can you imagine if someone did that, by the way, like through a scandal or whatever? Like there's another Clippers-esque owner type scandal, right? And then that owner just buys like the best Euro League team and the best Australian basketball team and the best Israeli team, and then just, you know, becomes a citizen abroad, if you will. Pulls a international Roman Polanski. That's what I'm imagining. Just a real classy individual.
Well, there was that guy who he owned like a Russian women's basketball team.
Respect, first off, right off the bat. Definitely not going to take a dark turn. I enjoyed it.
And well, so the whole deal was like he was apparently like, so some crazy Russian oligarch had a bunch of money. And the deal was he, like, tons of the top WNBA players would go play for him because he would pay them like 10 times what the WNBA was paying them.
Meaning like
so
$10.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So, like,
slightly above minimum wage.
Yeah, they were making, you know, they're making like millions of dollars playing for this crazy Russian oligarch. And what he would do is he would basically get them. So the rules are for Euro basketball or anything like that, if you're going to bring over, you're only allowed, I think it's like 2 American players per team are allowed in most Euro basketball leagues. So you can't just like stock your team full of Americans. So what he did is he basically, because a lot of those countries in Europe, if you just have ancestry from that country, they will allow you to get citizenship.
Yeah.
And so he would get all of these WNBA players like Israeli citizenship, German citizenship, whatever. He's like, well, I really only have 2 Americans. The rest of them, I've got a German, a Turkish player, an Israeli player. And he's just like stocked full of American players. And they were just killing it. Like, just
the
absolutely
traditional
destroying.
Israeli name, Janiqua Johnson. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this guy was like a blood diamond diplomat, just like
basically. And then, and apparently he was like really nice to the players, would, take them out shopping. Apparently nothing weird happened between him and the players. It was like He just wanted to win basketball games, and he knew getting Americans is the way to do it.
In terms of Russian billionaire pastimes, that's like the most wholesome thing that you could hope for.
Oh yeah,
in the
super
world.
super wholesome, super wholesome. And then like one day, all the players get this phone call. The dude was gunned down in his Mercedes, like in like Red Square or something like that.
God damn.
You know, it turned out like there were all these rumors that came out afterwards that he was like a former KGB agent, and like this was payback for stuff he did under the Soviet system, and like what happened. But you know, just all this insanity just blew up, and there was like, he was so nice to us. I'm sure
That's what happens when you beat the system. They kill you.
Exactly. It's like, I'm sure he was super nice to you, and then 30 years ago he was ripping people's fingernails out when they wouldn't give them information. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
That's like the most insane, I think, background to any like storyline is these old guys that you see when they're talking about how they were KGB agents. Like, they might look old and friendly and like kind of like the all-American or all-Russian, whatever the equivalent grandpa is. But like 30, 40 years ago, those were some of the most hardened motherfuckers in the world that would just be terrifying. Like,
I was watching the dumbest video the other day, and it was this guy who was a KGB agent, like reviewing KGB like scenes in movies. And he's like, that's not realistic. That we would never do that. Like, we would never hurt. Like, you can torture somebody all you want, and you're never going to get real information out of them. Now, we'd kill their family.
Yeah. No, that's
like,
that's exactly right. You hate to have it of where, oh no, this is done entirely for cinematic stuff. Like, what it's not being pictured as us like dragging their crying father right in front of them, and then like shooting their brother right in front of them, and then pointing the gun back at their father. Yeah, it's just wild. But enough basketball strategy, I guess. Time to really invest in the main thing that's here. Without further ado, hey everyone, welcome to Sports Radio 1917, your home for sports discussion and fantasy analysis from a leftist perspective. I'm Kelton, and today I'm joined by my fellow sports Bolsheviks and professional broadcasters, Gabe and Mitchell. How's it going?
fantastic.
Good. That's the important thing.
I'm just trying to get on Gabe's level.
Not everybody can get on this level, man. It's all right.
Well, it's a level that I think we all need to view as a goal. Like, achieving your level is a state of mind. It's less of a specific spot on some sort of scale. But
yeah, man. That's all it is. State of mind. You got to get in the right state of mind. You got to make the right fantasy picks.
It can't not be me. So
you gotta get on the sunglasses inside kind of train.
Wearing sunglasses at night, people think you're cool. It's just so that way then people don't see you crying in the club. I understand. It's the strong sensitive type here. But before we dive too much into the topics that we're going to be discussing this week in sports, wanted to mention we are joined by Eitan from Drum Circle Jerk once again. I think this is the fastest
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. I mean, this is a first for us. Of where just we thought that we might need to call an audible of Gabe once again just doing amazing work. He found a way to carve out some time for us still, so it's nice to know Dad hasn't forgotten about his kids. That's always a joy. But yeah, so
I quit smoking. I don't have to leave.
Eventually the cigarettes are for real gonna run out. But seriously, this time I will be back. The other time, that was what we call a psych in the dad industry. Let's talk, I guess, about what happened in sports, because the biggest retraction in the world, I think, needs to be said when 1 week ago today we were going through and discussing at length various aspects of the Toronto-Boston series, and we thought, well, should we also discuss the Denver LA series. I mean, Denver was down 3-1. Not really worth our time. We'll go ahead and move on. My God, we were wrong.
This is what happens when I don't come around. This
is what happens when you're gone, Gabe. You would have stood up for Denver.
Nobody was here to point out that Doc Rivers currently, and now because of that, has nearly 25%. That is 1 in 4 of the blown 3-1 leads.
I mean, he has been coaching for a really long time. You have to consider that. But I guess there's also Greg Popovich, who's been coaching for just as long. And
how many times has a 3-1 lead been blown?
It's questions that I think need to be asked.
Sorry. There was a Celtic fan here too, so me and Dred were obviously just arguing the whole time. If he wasn't here, I would have taken a moment to say that Doc Rivers is a fraud, because most people with real basketball knowledge understand this.
I see. Isn't Doc Rivers? Isn't his like Game 7 record like 0-8 or something? Like it's.
I think it's the Clippers franchise.
Oh, Clippers franchise. Okay.
I mean, the Boston Celtics have been to the Eastern Conference a whole bunch of times since he left because it was a rebuilding team, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is the sure money bet is that if any Doc Rivers team is up 3-1, it's even money they're going to lose Game 7.
That's solid. I think it's going to be interesting to try and figure out what we should expect from these Nuggets, because when they are cold, they are the coldest team. Like, it's painful to watch, but they are cold only 3 out of 7 times. And when they're hot, my God, nothing can stop them. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to, I mean, it's very much on the Clippers to talk about load management. But, I mean, if there's a way for the Nuggets to just accept the fact that, well, all right, we got to lose 3 games. We just got to get fully rested up, and then we're right. We have them right where we want them. That's the case. But
I mean, go ahead.
No,
I was just I just want to take a moment because before we shit on the Clippers, to congratulate Canada. You know, I did have to eat a lot of crow after Toronto lost to the Celtics, and I argued with Dred for a while. But literally, Kawhi left Canada because it was too cold, and then a guy from a fucking suburb of Toronto, not even a suburb. It's like a 2-hour drive, small town, not safe for work, motherfucker. Jamal Murray beat him for us. And that's why it's not too much of a coincidence that I'm here again. I want to celebrate this. We are claiming the Nuggets as our team. We the North.
Is that the power rankings, by the way? It's the Toronto Raptors, of course. Then the Memphis Grizzlies, they get bumped down, no respect to Vancouver. Insert Nuggets into the number 2 spot right there.
100%.
I just can't imagine a worse feeling than being a Clippers fan right now, because everyone was talking about how this was your year and that maybe then you would be able to win back-to-back. Now, next year, that is the cliff. Like, you either win it and then you suck, or you stumble over yourself and then you suck. Like, there's no real way to climb out of this, because they've mortgaged their entire future on 2 players that are going to be gone within 18 months.
Yeah, one of my favorite tweets regarding that was the Clippers traded more first-round picks, 5, for Paul George than field goals he had that night. No. 4.
Pandemic P strikes again. Something that I really wanted to see is the amount of trash talking that has been taking place now, because I feel like the Clippers, and more specifically, I guess, this Patrick Beverley, but like they all were talking so much shit as they were going through and they were riding in the bubble, because they really thought that they had it. And,
sorry to interject so much, but has a franchise that has done so little been this like hated by the entire league as much as the Clippers?
Because the team was made in a lab. Like it's not like any sort. Well, like name a couple of
players.
people.
The players applied on ZipRecruiter.
you saw this kind of hate for the Heat when LeBron went there and they signed Chris Bosh. But like LeBron, but like I mean, you see this kind of hate anytime teams do this. Or like I mean, maybe it's not as bad as the Clippers, but like I feel like it was pretty bad for the Heat. It was pretty bad for the Golden State Warriors when they signed KD.
Even the Lakers this year, I feel like people were talking about the Lakers more so that way this year than this one.
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime like they sign a big,
LeBron's cheating because he teamed up with AD.
Yeah,
you know,
and that very well might be the case. Like, because if the Lakers, I could see this series going 7 and the Nuggets winning. I could see it going 7, the Lakers winning. I could also see it going 4 and the Lakers winning. You know,
the Nuggets have all the magic, man. Like you ride the Nuggets wave until it crashes, and it may not crash. Like this is the Nationals from last year written all over it.
What are the odds on that series? I'm so curious. I haven't looked.
I think the Lakers opened at -635 to win.
That sounds about right. I mean, you know, I wouldn't bet against the Lakers personally. Like, I'm a coward also when it comes to betting, so that makes sense.
I mean,
it's good to be a coward.
I think the Nuggets can take it to 7. I mean, I think it's very doable.
I mean, I gotta say, like, I'm now actually interested in watching the Western Conference Finals. They absolutely wasn't when it was just going to be Battle LA. And
a lot of people said that. A lot of people were tired of watching the Clippers, but I feel like I don't know if the Nuggets are more watchable than the Clippers were.
They are because there's a storyline there.
That's true. Yeah,
I mean, like the Nationals. You know, if we're drawing the comparison point, they were pulling in the higher ratings last year during the MLB playoffs, simply because people were wondering what the fuck is going to happen. Are they going to fall off the cliff? When are the wheels going to fall off? Oh God, they got a ring. Like it kind of caught on. And I think that the Clippers falling and allowing, I mean, a team which is almost antithetical to them, because the Nuggets are so homegrown and are so what's considered second tier, but they've all gelled well, and then they all are getting hot at the right time.
They're literally just banking on the fact of, okay, if we have a bad game, we're gonna come back the next game, and we're not gonna have that bad game again.
Yeah,
and it's working.
There were 3 games though where the Clippers were up in the third quarter. They were up in the third quarter, Mitchell, and they lose it.
But look at the Nuggets style of basketball. They were also the recipe for disaster for the Clippers because they're tall ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're playing underneath the basket, and where the Clippers like have that ability to, that's not their strong suit. Zubats and Harrell.
That's actually yeah, exactly. I was going to mention that because I feel like the Lakers matchup might, like, I don't want to give the Lakers too much credit because I want the Nuggets to win this series, but I feel like this is the first matchup the Nuggets are going to have with
you also
a
have to
real
consider,
center.
like, LeBron is also way better than Donovan Mitchell at this stage. But Rudy Gobert and AD defensively, like, that's pretty comparable. AD's a little bigger, a little more athletic. Like, he can do more, but he doesn't play as consistently.
And is valuable offensively too, right?
Right. Yeah. Offensively, it's a whole different animal, but defensively, like, I feel like the Nuggets have seen that look, but LeBron is a big difference maker as well. So it's gonna be fun.
I mean, the Nuggets are primed. Like the Nuggets faced the 2 teams that could help prepare them probably the best for the Lakers. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers have kind of just coasted, so they're going to come out and Nuggets are going to smack them in the face. So definitely taking game 1.
Well, I mean, they're for sure going to win game 1, right? Because the Lakers lost to the Blazers in game 1 and the Rockets in game 1. So everyone should be betting, Lakers to win the series.
See,
but
it doesn't even sound right. The Clippers.
Lakers to win the series, Nuggets to win game 1, though. That's going to be the real show and tell there.
When do we get to shit on the Clippers a bit more, or did we?
No,
shit on them.
We can keep shitting on them. I mean, like, we have all off season to do that. We have all of next year to do that. They have to go past the second round for everyone.
Patrick Beverley is obviously the most overrated player in the NBA, so we can start there.
I posted probably like a week ago that Patrick Beverley is the Jason Derulo of the NBA. And I stand by that comparison point in the sense of no one ever really thinks about him until, like, you think of like some annoying as shit type thing. and that, oh, well, I guess he technically is good at what he does if you look at it like in terms of charts with Jason Derulo.
6 and 5.
Yeah,
it's how Russell Westbrook described him, right? He lied to y'all like he's just out there doing nothing, right?
Sure. Russell Westbrook. That's gonna be, oh god.
Whatever.
Just because Russell Westbrook is washed up doesn't mean he doesn't know the game.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely plays his heart out.
As a Houston,
everything Patrick Beverley's not.
Now with D'Antoni gone, I can now resume my mantle of being a Houston fan. As a Houston fan, I am begging Russell Westbrook to just get into the NBA on TNT chair. Just do it. You know what? Take a year off. Let us not pay your $46 million contract. Please, just something.
I mean, I mean, this is fine. This is fine. Bottom line is the era of ultra small ball or micro ball or whatever you want to call it is coming. Remember
to New Orleans, though, right?
Remember what I said is Mike D'Antoni is an innovator who can never win a championship. He is cursed to guide others to a treasure he cannot possess.
Well, I'm so thankful that how many coaches was it between D'Antoni and now the current Lakers coach? That's 4 guys, I think, in between. I'm not sure, but
I mean, it was a coaching carousal for a while.
Well, yeah, the Lakers franchise was just in the dumps, and they had to get their shit together, figure it out, sign LeBron. Like that's how you save your franchise.
Wow, yeah, really amazing. But before we get too caught up into the world of the D'Antoni sweepstakes, I do want to focus a little bit on the Lakers because I'm sorry, on the Clippers. God, I cannot separate these two in my head. Because what would you do if you are the Clippers? How do you ensure that you can't, that you don't have the same result next season? Because I mean,
I'm LeBron.
So there's rumors that Montrez might come to Toronto too. So I mean, is that a good or bad thing for the Clippers after what he did in the playoffs too? That's an interesting decision for them.
I think you get rid of Pat Beverley. Like,
no one's taking him. He's making $13 million a year.
Yeah. I mean, you somehow get rid of Pat Beverley or teach him how to not foul people. Because, like,
he can't. That's the thing. He's too small.
He's an okay defender when he's not fouling people. Or alternatively, pay off the refs to not call fouls on Patrick Beverley.
Brilliant.
So here's the thing: the modern defense in the NBA is using the fouls. You get 6 of them every time you get beat. You use a foul. Like
he told Steph Curry that he's got the next 5 years. Okay, so what did Steph Curry say back? Like, aren't you like 37 or something?
Yeah, he's 30. He was like 31 when he said that.
Yeah. I don't know what you can do to possibly fix it. Because, I mean, I do want to talk shit on the Clippers, but I really think that they're just kind of fucked, really. Like, I feel like it's kind of one of those moments of where, like, it's like finding out that, I guess, like, someone who has terminal cancer is also picking up just, candy flipping every weekend at the club. We were like, I'm sure this probably isn't the best, like, long-term wise, but I don't think we have to worry about long-term with you in particular. So I'll let you have this
it's crazy that they might not have any stars when they open the arena in like a couple years.
It's gonna be some real.
It'll be Landry Shamet on the side of the fucking the stadium.
I mean, I honestly don't see Kawhi going anywhere. He's wanted to. I mean, he's from California. He wants to play in California. Like,
I enjoy him, Sacramento Kings. Like, that's
maybe he'll go to Sacramento Kings, but you think the Clippers are going to give Kawhi up? Like, the Clippers are going to hold up to Kawhi. He's going to be what they build the team around. But, like, they have to win next year. Like, they can't. Otherwise, they're in a rough spot.
Do you guys see either of them just going to the Lakers after all this?
I could easily imagine Paul George, deciding to fucking jump ship.
Take the mid-level exception for LeBron and AD.
If LeBron will have him.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
that's Paul George's dream at this point.
Yeah.
Easily sign washed up all-stars. Like
we will give you Danny Green's contract, and that's it.
No,
nothing more.
Paul George put up Kyle Kuzma numbers, Like, if Kyle Kuzma does what Paul George did, the Lakers are winning the NBA championship. But the Clippers couldn't have Kyle Kuzma.
He put up Pascal Siakam actually numbers, like Pascal Siakam from these playoffs kind of numbers. And yet our team, not to get petty with Toronto stuff, but I will with Kawhi, but our team was actually a possession away from winning Game 7 while they got blown out 3 games in a row.
Yeah, I really think that Toronto is in a position next year where like we're about to just get all of the same storylines repeated again and again and again. It's just gonna be the same shit, different day, but it'll be interesting. So here I see that we got Dread joining us here, so I'm gonna give y'all the reins momentarily while I try to figure out.
He's coming during this Boston game. It is real close right now.
What's the score?
It's 89-89. Miami had gone like a 15-point lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and now Boston is just outscoring the shit out of them.
Yay, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I personally think the Raptors-Miami series would have been more fun, but Dredd will disagree.
Oh, I disagree.
Dredd, your audio's not coming in, so.
It's muted. I'm here now.
There we go.
It would have been more fun for me because I wouldn't be so stressed. I have actually made the tactical decision to stop watching because the Celtics go on a run whenever I step away from the game.
They're going on a run?
Oh, my God.
And whenever I watch the Heat go on a run. So I need to make the choice.
Okay, I like this. Yes. You're in the podcast now.
I have to pretend that basketball doesn't exist until I don't have to.
I see. Well, God bless you, I think, for trying.
And I also agree that the Raptors series would have been more fun because the Celtics feel utterly determined to show that they have unforced errors everywhere. They are clearly very tired from a 7-game series.
Enes Kanter's zone buster. That's what Brad Stevens is thinking, right?
It worked for 2 quarters. It's just our third quarter is our weakest quarter. If we could just pretend that quarter 3 was quarter 2, part 2, we do so much better.
That's I think the strategy, right? Is just try and expand it out as much as you possibly can. We'll make it work.
1 second, my audio probably just got a lot worse because I just unplugged my microphone.
No worries here.
Other microphone.
There we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm having to switch some things up on the fly, so it's always a joy for me. So we were talking, everyone joining us from the Sportulist Bubble Ball Caucus in the Twitter group chat here. We got Dredd, and we are in the midst of discussing what the fuck we need to do if you are the Clippers, because we don't know. How do we fix the Clippers? What's the best route to go down? Do you have any thoughts on that in particular, Dredd?
Yeah, I'm going to take a very controversial take that I think that they, for better or for worse, have to just run it back minus Montrezl Harrell, because at this point you can't really trade. Like, you could try to blow it up, but you're never going to get the return. You're going to be, if you trade Kawhi and Paul George now, you're a joke forever. And more than anything else, Steve Ballmer doesn't want the Clippers to be a joke. And the team just honestly, and I hate to admit this because I think that they were far too cocky and far too early.
Oh yeah.
They needed just a little bit better of variance luck. Like, at the end of the day, a couple of things go better for them and they lose in the Western Conference Finals instead of the second round.
That I think would be what they will tell themselves at night, to try and comfort them. I just think that like next year I wouldn't be surprised if like they get some like weird injury luck type of fluke thing that happens to them.
I mean they're injury-prone players and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. You know,
I'm
not again wishing that on them. I just say it like anytime a franchise gets their hopes up, I think on that of being like, oh, well, this year they'll all be healthy. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like a Leighton Vander Esch type situation of where like someone's collarbone snaps.
Kawhi was healthy this year too. It feels like such a wasted opportunity because even in the Toronto series, like the Warriors and Bucks series, he was on one leg for the most part.
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
They caught a lot of flack for resting him at the beginning of the season. Like everyone was talking so much shit, ruining basketball. None of the players are playing on the road games on back-to-backs, and people are paying for these tickets, and everyone was talking shit about that. But that's how it has to be. I mean, these guys are playing too much.
What should the season be if we are going to become Clippers fans? So this
like 60 games.
Okay. Kawhi still only plays 35 of them.
Yeah, no, Kawhi plays 42 of them.
Like
I'm 2 games a week.
I'm just going to put it this way. Like, I fundamentally don't think that there's enough that they could do to recompensate for the incredible amount of assets they put away in this, and to get Paul George. And anything they would do would make them such a profoundly worse team that it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the big thing for me, is that if you're not going to get better, why bother?
Then what do they do if they leave? Because that is a possibility. They can all just opt out of their deals next year.
They're just fucked if they leave. Like that's the unfortunate thing. It's just like
you go back to being the Clippers, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks, but like that's all that, like you can't not run it back. Like maybe the thing you do is you fire Doc like now, and you say, I'm going like
you're gonna hire Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, like maybe. Well, no, I think that you end up like maybe bring in like you promote Ty Lue.
Yeah.
Like I hate to admit that, but like that's what you do.
No, this is incredibly a coaches should just be best friends of the players podcast. I don't care what my other co-hosts have to say about this. That is true. Systems don't work, friendships do. Just make a Ty Lue with a whole bunch of friendship bracelets for Kawhi and Paul George.
I mean, that's the thing though, is like for better or for worse, he's not good in the same way that you would want him to be, but like he's something, and he's a change, and that's important. By the way, I can't seem to change my nickname. Can somebody change my name to Dread? How do I do that?
Gabe, would you mind?
I don't think I can do that.
All right, 1 second. I'm gonna switch accounts.
Okay.
I can do that.
I think Dread's gonna go watch a bit of the game because your theory's not really working, actually.
I see that they've come back actually.
Oh no.
And it does look like the Miami Heat are about to go up 2-0 on my Celtics, and that will suck.
Oh no. Well, we'll be able to get some immediate reaction. And Eitan can be like an energy vampire.
Yeah. Listen, I'm cheering for the Heat because I want the MAGA finals. I want Kendrick Nunn versus Michael Porter Jr. Real bad.
I will be right back. I'm going to leave and come back.
Okay. That comment, it broke Dread. How could you?
His name is Dread on my screen.
Is it? Yeah, it might be a Zoom thing.
Maybe he just fixed it before he got out. I don't know.
Ah, yes, Jay Crowder Revenge series. I'm sorry. I'm watching the game at the same time as doing this.
How could you? It's almost like we're all getting distracted because for some insane reason, I decided it would be a good idea for us to keep broadcasting on Thursday nights, even when that's when sports is at like an all-time swing.
Yeah, right? I think that's game.
Yeah.
I think that
it was game once they got to 100, because Lawler's Law says first team to 100 always win. It's the law.
Well,
I mean, I'm going to put it this way. I think the Celtics prove that like they have the much higher upside of either team here, but they are profoundly more prone to unforced errors.
Yeah, why'd you guys have to do this to my Raptors just for this bullshit?
Yeah, it's like the series is still probably going to go.
He would be saying the exact same thing to you when the Heat were up 2-0.
The East is trash. The East is trash. It doesn't matter who.
Okay, no, Gabe.
The East is always trash.
I deeply respect the fact that you're a Union guy, and I respect everything you do.
Oh, no.
But I don't know how you can say the East is trash when the West Coast looks the way that it does.
The bottom line is the East is trash. Most of the time, you're like bottom 2 to 3 teams have losing records and make it.
Yeah, that's because we're top heavy. We don't have to put up with we don't have to pretend that the Heat. We don't have to pretend that the Rockets are a real team. Like Tillman Fertitta can exactly. Tillman Fertitta, you really want to go to bat for.
How much fun is it to watch the East where you got a bunch of trash teams, a couple of good teams? Whereas in the West, we can watch a bunch of great teams. Like
Western, I realized that this year,
all 10 to 16 teams are fantastic every year.
Are any of the West Coast teams fun to watch?
Yeah, the Western Conference plays like it's a pickup game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's no defense in the Western Conference playoff, so it just looks like a pickup game with everybody just getting their 2 keys.
This isn't a league where defense matters. Who cares? I want basketball.
Oh yeah, you guys think it's bad now? Just wait. Gabe is gonna come back with a fully healthy Golden State, scoring like 130, giving up 125 each game,
and all is gonna be mad.
I just genuinely can't wait for. We are going to reach the point where West Coast style basketball, if you want to call it that way, there aren't good coaches in the West, and the teams are aging, and the few teams that are quote unquote great are great, but everything could fall apart for them at a moment's notice. On the other hand, the East Coast has at the top, the Celtics are losing. I think they have already lost this game, but yeah, there's 10 seconds left, and I guess they could sink a 3, but whatever, they're not going to. They have the Raptors, you have the Bucks, which for better or for worse are going to be a great regular season team. You have the Celtics, which as long as Jason Tatum, we didn't think Jason Tatum was going to improve again, but as long as he continues on a trajectory that doesn't get worse, as long as he doesn't regress, they'll be great. You have the Nets, which will have Kyrie and Kevin Durant and LeVert and a whole bunch of assets. And then you have still 76ers, which for all their dysfunction are a talented team. That's the thing is there aren't, you don't have the Golden State Warriors, but the Golden State Warriors don't really have the Golden State Warriors the same way anymore.
You're breaking our hearts, Dredd, with your analysis here.
No,
are you saying we're now just looking back at nostalgia? Is that it?
And now we have LeBron. We have the one thing y'all had in the past.
But we're gonna get Chris Paul soon, so don't talk too much shit. Chris Paul's coming to the Eastern Conference.
Also,
Chris Paul is gonna retire soon. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is the West has been the buzzsaw that it has been for going on 20 years now. It doesn't particularly. It's not like they're the same players for the last 20 years. There has been a lot of guys that have stuck around, but the bottom line is the West, on average, has a higher caliber of play than the East. The East can produce the top 4 teams. I will give you that the top 4 teams out of the East are always great teams. But then it just quickly, it's a cliff. The talent cliff and the quality cliff of the teams just quickly drops off. And next year might be interesting where you guys might actually field 6 to 7 quality teams who will not have a losing record and still make it into the playoffs.
Look, I'm going to ask you a philosophical question here. Do you want 6 to 7 quality teams, or do you want 5 great teams? Because when you talk about quality teams, you're really stretching the definition for watchability. We're talking about.
I want to not know what's going to happen at the end of the game. I don't want to watch a game where it's okay, these teams are just going to steamroll these other teams. I want to see bubble Suns every single game.
So you just want the fact that you want teams that could play amazing one game, and then the next game, Russell Westbrook decides to have 24 turnovers.
Yeah, that's fine with me. That makes it interesting.
I think it becomes, again, speaking of the philosophical question of, are you an agent of chaos or not? And depending on how you check that box, it'll make you decide.
I just want to watch good basketball. Like,
I'm all about, first off, it's about spreading the wealth. You know, the biggest problem with capitalism is that
the Western teams have been changing the fundamentals of basketball for the past decade.
So the bottom line is they spread the wealth, they spread talent all around the Western Conference. There's a bunch of great teams with a lot of great talent.
Yeah, on the East, don't you guys enjoy that? You know, it's been different Western Conference champions for the past 6 years.
Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
2 years ago.
All the teams that can win aren't just in one. Now, don't get me wrong. The Golden State Warriors, it isn't just about getting a couple of great players and being great, which they are, and they will be again. The next 10 years are going to be another Warriors decade. Mark my word. But
by Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, seriously. I think the Raptors have more of a chance to develop a dynasty than the Warriors at this point.
You see a competitive edge in the West where you can actually see a bunch of teams who are actually good and could be good and could surprise you. You know, in the East, it's like, okay, this team's going to be trash and they're always going to be trash. Like, their only time they're going to win is if the B side comes out from a Western Conference team.
I think next year is going to be interesting to see what all happens. The West is obviously, I think, and this might be, you know, if I were to do a hot take already forecasting, I would say that next year the Western Conference will probably have more top-heavy teams than the East, simply because I think the East is actually going to be fielding a higher number of, you know, pretty good, quote-unquote, quality teams all the way through. You know, I just think that, like, the top 8 in the East is going to have better records than the top 8 in the West. But I think the top.
I will agree with that. I will agree. Next year, that is definitely a possibility. For the first time in, I don't know, fucking ever.
I just don't know at what level, like, of watchability. Like, what's the cost of West Coast success?
I mean,
the Mavericks were a 7th seed this year.
The what?
The Mavericks were a 7th seed this year.
The Mavericks were amazing, but that's not what I'm saying. In fact, what I'm saying
what are you getting from the 7th seed out of the East?
Well, no, that's not what I'm not talking about the 7th seed.
You have four
I'm talking about
but to Dred's point, the 7th seed is going to have Kevin Durant next year, to be honest.
Oh, they're going to be the 1 seed next year. Like,
here's my question for you right now. Like, not just talking about playoff basketball, but when we talk about regular season basketball, I'm going to read off some teams, and you tell me if you enjoyed watching them.
Okay,
this year.
Regular season though, like, God, no one likes the regular season of the NBA.
What we should talk about is who we're going to enjoy watching.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about the small ball sweepstakes
that's coming up next season.
It's going to be D'Antoni to the New Orleans Pelicans.
That's your call?
Yeah, I'm going to declare that now. I think D'Antoni will be a Pelican. I think that it's a natural fit in the sense that I think the Pelicans want to get to the playoffs and lose.
But hey, that gets them to the playoffs, though. For people who are wondering, I know that the list of team that have either been listed as potentials or at least they're in the rumor mill would be the Pacers, the 76ers, the Bulls, the Pelicans, the Thunder, and then there was like this insane theory of the Nets where he would go in and be an assistant coach and help kind of give Steve Nash the ropes while then also just grabbing that ring and then moving right along. And that's a personal favorite pet theory of mine, because I really enjoy like a Hawaiian shirt D'Antoni clearly just cashing in to secure his legacy, because then he'll get the NBA champion checked off on his list of credentials.
Look, there are 3 former coaches out there right now who are what I would consider high tier options for most teams. And that is Ty Lue. And once again, I don't actually think Ty Lue is a great coach, but I think that he's a very well liked by players coach. And I think on a team with stars in the West, that matters more than actually a good scheme coach, if we're going to be honest.
Congrats to the LA Clippers for grabbing him. I agree.
I also think that Fundamentally, Coach Atkinson is still good for a team with young players. I don't think he'll ever get you over the hump, but I think as far as development of talent goes, he would be somebody that,
he'd be perfect for the Bulls.
I mean, what talent on the Bulls though?
Exactly. He can develop it.
I mean, he's going to find somebody. And then I think that, I'm not including Stan Van Gundy because I don't think Stan Van Gundy should enter back into the league. I think he's good as an analyst. But I do think that Mike D'Antoni has another shot to turn a team into a 5 seed that disappoints down the stretch.
Yeah, the Sixers, when he benches Embiid.
Tells Ben Simmons to only shoot threes.
That's actually what I was going to bring up, is that I think if we're talking about a true yin and yang scenario, I think the idea of D'Antoni believing in shooting threes regardless, because enough will go in, and then you have Ben Simmons there, like that will break D'Antoni's spirit. I think of being like,
Mike D'Antoni ain't going anywhere where he can't where you can't just launch over 50% of the tries from beyond the arc.
I understand. Your ideal world.
I think he'll take whatever job is offered. He'll take whatever job's offered him.
You think that he's that desperate, honestly, behind the scenes? I think that he has his choice of several,
I think he's an abrasive person, and as much as I like him, like he's had multiple problems with front offices before, and obviously like the Rockets front office and the ownership staff is awful. Like Tillman Fertitta is a terrible human being, and like not somebody you actually want behind any sort of management decisions. But that doesn't change the fact that he is let's call him
he's geriatric to me.
Yeah, he's very reactive, but he's an acquired taste, and you need a ownership group that doesn't feel like it's actively going to sabotage him. And like let me put it this way. I don't actually think Mike D'Antoni got a fair shake in Houston, because I think Daryl Morey was a little bit too trade happy. And I think that Tillman Fertitta was never willing to do what it actually would have taken to make that team successful.
Yeah. I mean, do we think that then D'Antoni going to a team like the Thunder, of where like they're young and they can have a whole bunch of perimeter talent available to them, that I mean, again, I don't think that they would mind being a 5 seed that then makes the playoffs every year. I don't know how that would go, especially if Chris Paul then leaves the Thunder. That gets rid of that potential reunion between the two of them.
I mean, from what I understand, Chris Paul and D'Antoni are actually pretty close. Mm-hmm. As crazy as this sounds, D'Antoni liked Chris Paul a lot more than he never wanted Russell Westbrook.
Yep. I
think he would be a good fit. The one thing I would say is I think he would produce bad habits for Shea.
Well, that might be the case, but come on, we have to think about what would be a fun thing in this exercise here, because I mean, like the most boring answer would be like the Pacers, right? Of where
I don't see D'Antoni going to a young team. Honestly, I don't feel like he's like ready to do all that again.
To him?
I mean, like the Pacers are like established players with some young guys, and the 76ers are the same situation.
The Nets would have actually been perfect for him when you really think about it. Like all Kyrie Irving really needs is a Southern guy to whisper in his ear, like, just keep taking them threes, Kyrie.
Yeah.
But Durant knows better. That's the thing. It's like, Kyrie would have loved having our good friend Mike on his team, but who wouldn't have loved having him on his team? Kevin Durant, who needs to be able to
have everything revolve around him.
Yeah, he needs to be able to talk stocks and blockchain with his coach or whatever he's looking into nowadays.
That's exactly why Steve Nash is there, though. Steve Nash will talk to him about
Kevin Durant's good friend.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's exactly it. Is he wants to be there? He wants his friend there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
I don't
coaches
blame
are
him.
the best friends of the star players. Thank you.
That's a terrible plan, and
it will work out beautifully.
Yeah, that's
Number
why
1
they're
seed in
going
the
to lose
East.
to the Heat in the second round of the Eastern Conference. The Heat are going to rest their players and get like a 5 seed again, because why spend all that effort to win regular season games?
You know, Jimmy Butler will say like
crowd.
some psycho shit, just like, we have to be underdogs. We didn't want home court advantage.
He's legitimately going to say that at some point.
The bottom line,
better on the road.
The Nets have no chill. So like with KD back and just Steve Nash letting them not be chill at all, like I could absolutely see them somehow getting the number 1 seed and somehow like come on, like
they're going to be the number 1 seed, and it's not going to be close because fundamentally they have more talent than any other team in the East. As long as KD's back at least 80%, they have the best combo. And I think the other thing about them is they didn't have to mortgage their future
for KD. Oh
yeah.
Absolutely.
So what about you, by the way, Gabe? Who is your ideal pairing? It can be from the teams I listed. It can be something else. You're like the D'Antoni whisperer, and I feel like your pulse is on the D'Antoni beat more than any of us. So, Dredd has his facts and his reasoning, but you have this like bizarre sixth sense ability where instead of seeing dead people, you're just able to predict.
You're able to see dead coaches.
Yeah, exactly. Who will shoot 12 for 36 from the court? Like that's what you can tell in the future.
So I think the bottom line is D'Antoni. Like, I think he wants a ring. Obviously, everybody does. Everybody says they do. D'Antoni, again, he's not going to end up at the Nets as an assistant, obviously. He's not going to step down and become an assistant. But I mean, for anybody who hates the Nets, that would be great because D'Antoni they wouldn't win a championship next year because D'Antoni cannot lead teams to championships. He can lead him to the finals. Can't lead him to a ring.
I also think fundamentally the other thing to say is that D'Antoni doesn't fit well with he fits well with Kyrie, but he doesn't fit well with the KD style of play. And KD is making all the executive decisions on that team. Like, that's just the facts. And so he was never going to be able to be there because he's not KD's buddy.
Well, again, that's a good reason, but you have to think of the absurd of the theater of the mind.
I honestly, here's what I see happening. This is my wild guess.
Okay.
This is the wildest. If D'Antoni was going to get signed, like it just in the insanity of all the teams, the Phoenix Suns would bring him back.
Oh my God, no!
Take it all the way to a chip, and then it would be my 21-year-old 2005 self, just coming in my pants because it would be wonderful. But no, I could see him ending up. I think Oklahoma City is a decent place to be. Whether him and Chris Paul get along will be the fun part and the interesting.
But he and Chris Paul like each other. I think the larger issue is that Billy Donovan did fairly well, especially with this what I would say is underwhelming roster, and not in terms of its potential, but in terms of its immediacy. And if you're coming in after Billy Donovan, you're expected to improve that team unless they decide to scrap Chris Paul and go for the tank in the full rebuild. And I don't think they're going to do that. So if you're saying that he's filling in after Billy Donovan, he has to be good.
Oh, that's true. So to the Pelicans, let's see Zion as a center. Fuck it. Let's make it that
It's not the dumbest idea.
Trade for Devin Booker.
Zion's done after next season anyway. He's going to blow out his knee halfway through. So I don't know why anybody is still the human body is just not meant for that level.
I forgot about this. That would be very interesting to watch you just your fandom chronicled, because I forget that you are a huge Zion disbeliever, not even a hater.
I'm not a hater. I'm first off, I'm a trained evolutionary biologist, and the bottom line is we did not evolve to have that level of athleticism on our weak as fuck knees.
You see, the two bumps at the back of the skull mean that power forwards are not able to be as athletic.
I mean, look, I'm sorry. Look at LeBron James. When LeBron James was walking around at 280 pounds, he was insanely amazing. And then a couple of years into that era, he dropped 30, 40 pounds in the off season because he's like, look, my body can't handle being 280 pounds and pulling off these above the rim dunks and stuff like that. And Zion's going to have to make the same thing. I just don't think being that explosive and being that athletic, the human knee just can't handle that.
It's not just that too. He's
injured his knee.
It's not just that too. He's gotten to the point where he is at this point not just. It would be different if he was just ready for an injury. He's had injuries. He's had a knee that has been required attention. It's more than just, waiting to happen. It has happened and it will keep happening. We're talking not just we make fun of Kawhi. We make fun of a lot of people for load management. We're not just talking about load management with this guy. We're going to be talking about game management. He's going to be playing 15, 20 minutes a game. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. He's never going to be a 40-minute down the stretch player. He'd fit well with Bud saying that 35 minutes is pushing the ceiling for the best player in the league. But that's the thing. He's not going to have the conditioning, and it's not his fault. He's just huge and he's strong and he turns on a dime and he does things that no human being should to his knees in a game that already blows out people's knees. If we're going to have Zion for a long time, it's because he plays a short time every night.
Yep.
And he can only play 60 games a season.
Yeah. I mean,
seriously,
where he needs to end up, and this is in all seriousness, because I have no idea what they're doing in Scottsdale, but he needs to end up on the Phoenix Suns because for whatever reason, they have athletic trainers who literally bring people back from the dead somehow. Remember what they did to Grant Hill? Grant Hill was just washed up, old man, couldn't do anything, and then all of a sudden turned back into a cutter and was dunking the ball again.
Are the Suns your answer to everything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Until we have reason to disbelieve, why not have it?
I mean, name another undefeated team in the bubble.
You know what? Technically speaking, the Chicago Bulls did not lose a single game in the bubble.
Name a single undefeated team in the bubble who played at least one game.
I see. Now we're getting into the arguing semantics here, but
I feel like I'm being trapped here.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, we're running a little bit long on that. Do we have any wrap up notes about the NBA as a section? Any big predictions? Anything that you kind of want to just throw at the ball and say, this is, I think that it could happen, or anything like that?
I have two predictions.
Okay.
But I will certainly defer to other people first because one of my predictions is very bold.
All right. Mitchell, Eitan? Gabe, if he's still around, maybe not. We don't know. But what do y'all think?
I think Fred VanVleet is leaving my team, which I've been dealing with a whole bunch. The Bubble Caucus has made me realize that I have to say goodbye to him to the Knicks, I think, potentially. So I don't know if that's a prediction. I think that's just kind of the writing on the wall.
It's therapy. It's therapy, I think. So that's good.
There's actually a campaign going on in Toronto with similarly to the Kawhi and Dine one, where people are trying to get Fred VanVleet to come and eat for free at restaurants during a pandemic as well.
Nice.
They're trying to kill him.
Yeah. Infects his entire family. That's his last impression of Toronto. Oh God.
Yeah, it's just eating tapas in a parking garage.
The outdoor dining. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. They care so much about me here. Unlike New York. All right. Well, that's very cool. Mitchell, what about you?
We're all getting ready to watch the Nuggets win 2 more Game 7s and win the NBA championship. So, just buckle up and enjoy the ride.
My God. Well, we'll see. I guess then what happens. I appreciate that. That's a nice bold sense of flavor here. My absolute insane prediction that I feel like this might then doom them. So my apologies here. Is I think that if the Celtics fall into a 3-1 hole, I could legitimately see them coming back and then beating the Heat. Just simply because they've been up in the first 2 games. And so I could see them I could see them taking the series, even though they're now down 0-2, that there's been enough kind of magic in the air that it's very possible that the Heat kind of peaks too early. And I mean, the Heat have won, 4 games or so relatively closely, and the bounce of the ball kind of fell on their side. I could see that then similarly bad luck could go on the other way. But
narrative, please.
Yeah. I mean, I would love it. That would then also mean that then we end up probably getting an LA versus Boston series, which is what TV execs across America would want instead.
I mean, the Heat are 10-1 in the playoffs right now.
I understand.
So, it's like, how is that sustainable?
I
mean, they could just be good.
Yes, no, they are good. But how good?
So, all right, Gabe or Dredd, who wants to go next?
I will give my one very lukewarm and one relatively spicy take.
Go for it.
All right, so my lukewarm take is that I think that next season will be the last fun 2-star season that we're going to get in a while, because afterwards we're going to return to the era of the super team.
Yep.
And 2 stars is just not going to cut it. Like you're going to need 2 and somebody else. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a full star, but you're going to need a Draymond Green. You're going to need a Marcus Smart on cocaine or something. Like you're going to need somebody to be consistently good.
Supposedly he is on cocaine.
I understand. Yes.
Yelling at the locker room right now. Supposedly Marcus Smart yelling at various players quite audibly from the other locker room.
I don't blame
cocaine.
I don't blame him, honestly. Like
nice.
The Celtics fucked that game up. Like, let's just put it that way. But I will say my more spicy take is that Giannis makes the worst decision of his life and decides to stay in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I think that it is going to be a sad day for Toronto fans and
that was going to be my
State Warrior fans and Miami fans.
Yeah, because he's coming to the Mavericks, man. He's joining Team Euro.
My God.
I think he's going to get conned into staying in Milwaukee.
That is going to be very depressing. But I could see it. I could see it happening because it's one of those things of where.
But there's not going to be a super team in Milwaukee, so why would Giannis do that to himself?
Because he's going to get conned. They're going to promise him.
He's going to want the money, and the fact of the matter is the salary cap is being reduced next season by almost 10%. And so, like, you're
Milwaukee
looking.
Yeah.
Nobody else. I mean, like, I personally think Giannis is going straight to the Warriors. But that's going to require him taking the mid-level exception and getting paid some sort of $7 million a year contract. I don't know that he's going to necessarily go for that. But like in my heart,
or a sign-in trade or something.
I think what could happen is Giannis would be willing to absolutely accept a massive, upwards of 50% pay cut just to play on this team that is known as the Golden State Warriors. But that is just, in my heart of hearts.
Well, I mean, stay gold, pony boy. That's it.
See, that's the thing. The Mavericks actually have KP's contract to trade for Giannis. So it makes sense.
I don't think Milwaukee's going to trade him. I think they're going to stick with him, and I think it's going to be the right choice for them. And I think that their ownership group is going to fully con Giannis into thinking that they're going to spend into the luxury tax for years to come, and then they'll pick another Chris Middleton type and disappoint. He'll waste the prime of his career and then demand a trade 3 years in.
Yeah,
I think Giannis. Here's my bold prediction: somehow Giannis is going to be on the Clippers. They're going to run it back.
Oh no!
Like that's the real move. That's the real move. That's what the Clippers need is a Giannis.
I feel so just dirty because of what you stated, Gabe.
I'm not going to entertain that one.
Yeah.
Why are we leaving out the Knicks from this conversation too? He might go and revitalize that franchise.
He's not from America.
I will say this: if James Dolan opens up the pocketbook and gets Masai Ujiri, I think he'll end up on the Knicks.
Don't say that.
I don't want to.
Don't say those things.
I'll believe that. I'll believe that the day JD and the Sharpshooter is no longer open every Madison Square Garden show.
Listen,
I actually had to see a JD and the Sharpshooters concert once. I'm not even in Madison Square Garden. It was in like a small venue in Flatbush, and they gave away tickets with tickets to Madison Square Garden, which means the band bought tickets for a non-MSG property and gave them away as raffle prizes at an MSG game. And I got tricked into my friend to go.
I mean, baller move. You do what you need to do, my man.
Much respect, much love across the board.
Just keep making sure the Knicks are trash. That's all I ask.
I mean, they're becoming like the CAA version of the Lakers in terms of clutch sports, right? You got Thibodeau, Leon Rose. They're going to trade for Chris Paul and potentially Joel Embiid. So that should be fun.
I mean, they'd actually be a decent team if they traded for those two. So I don't think that can happen.
But you know what I really hate though is all the time I have to spend researching fantasy information when I'm trying to place bets.
Oh, I see. Smooth transition point, Gabe. Just like butter,
Smooth.
It's always, I spend hours upon hours on my fantasy team about looking up the best projections, the best people. Who should I make a trade with? Who should I bet on the waiver wire? And, just to bring this information to you. But you know who does it better? Tell him, Kelton.
Well, that would be our good friends over at Thrive Fantasy. So come #prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season, the daily fantasy sports app for player props. And as someone who definitely uses this app, I can absolutely tell you what the user interface is like. But instead, I'm gonna ask Mitchell here to describe what the setup is for it, because they've eliminated the need to do all of that time-consuming research, and they only ask you about the top-tier athletes in whatever the respective sport might be. So, what's your experience been with it, Mitchell?
So if you've played any sort of daily fantasy gambling before, then you know how it goes. You just pick your team and you wait for the points and whatever. But this is like an over-under style. So they give you a certain player's line, points, rebounds, assists, sometimes all three. And they only do the all-stars of the teams. And they give you an over-under and you guess those. And you get each over-under has a point value assigned to it.
Nice. And then the more points you get, the higher your chance of winning is. So, for example, in the NFL, you can choose 10 out of 20 player prop options to build your lineup. Or, if you're in the NBA or other sports, you choose 5 out of the 10 player props to build your lineup. So each prop has a fantasy point total associated with the over-under based on its likelihood to occur. And, as you rack up those points, the one with the most points, you get to split a prize pool of sorts. Thrive has awarded over $1.5 million in prizes since launching in 2018. That's a firm, I think, amount of money, right? That's a good use of time. Some East Coast investor, some person in the Hamptons.
If you're going to win some money, this is your chance.
Yeah, just win it from trust fund investments. That's what you need to be trying to do. And there was a $50,000 guaranteed prize pool for week 1. I'm not sure about week 2 because that wasn't in the copy. But if you're interested in this, use promo code SR1917 when you sign up today and try to receive an instant $20 bonus on your first deposit of $20 or more. Let's see. Go ahead and download the Thrive Fantasy app on the App Store, I guess, on Apple or Google or wherever the hell you get it, or visit their website, thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and hashtag prop up today. That was completely natural and not at all something there. I'm glad that we were able to have a normal conversation about this thing that came up so well. Thank you, Gabe.
No problem. I figure we're running a little long time. We need to talk about some football because you know what's happening right now? Goddamn football.
That's right. That's right. And
I think that's my cue.
That's right. Eitan is about to go just resume his normal happy life of watching and being a fan instead of stressing out over,
and dunking on me.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was gonna sign off with go. Wait, are you a Boston sports fan, Dread, or just?
I mean, I'm a Celtics fan, and I accept the other Boston.
Okay, never mind. Because I was gonna say go Patriots as I leave, because goddamn, like you got that city has 2 likable teams right now, which is really pissing me off.
Cam Newton, so I'll root for Cam Newton.
Yeah, but that's all the football I got, guys. As a Jew Canadian, so happy Rosh Hashanah to all of you, and it's the year 2078 or 5078. So thanks so much.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Yeah. All right. Bye, Eitan. Okay. Now it's the 4 of us that are talking, that are chatting, that are discussing, trying to figure out what exactly we need to do here to fix some things up. So let's dive into the NFL just a little bit here while we're plugging away. The Thursday night game is well, I guess I should back up just a little bit. There's too many games to preview, just simply put. So I think it's interesting if we were to take just one game from each respective time slot to then talk about it, and we can chew on it for a little bit more rather than just trying to do spitfire each and all the time. And so the first game, of course, is what's happening right now, is the Bengals and Browns. It's currently halftime, so isn't that nice for the listeners tuning in tomorrow for the podcast? The Bengals are currently down by 1 score. It's 13-21. The Cleveland Browns, the home team, and currently looking ahead. It looks like it's kind of just been an interesting game so far. The biggest storyline coming into this, I think, was Odell Beckham and the supposed trade rumors, but definitely not trade rumors, but maybe trade rumors if the right teams are doing the rumoring for him. And then,
it wasn't the fact that he likes to get shit on.
I mean,
that was 3 weeks ago, Gabe. Come on.
Yeah, it's like that's
still not a thing.
Ago.
Come on.
I guess that's true. That is a constant in his life. That's not something that people randomly decide to fall into or out of based on.
Yeah, and that happened years ago.
Goodness. So, I guess that would be probably the one thing on the Brown side. On the other side of, I mean,
he's on the right team for it. He's a Browns number 2.
It's God damn it. It just won't get old. I'm sure.
It will eventually.
But the Bengals on the other side, I mean, people were fawning over Joe Burrow. What did y'all think of his game against the Chargers, out of curiosity?
I thought he showed a lot of promise down the stretch. I mean, he almost won that game if not for a questionable offensive pass interference call. Mm-hmm. Without that call, he probably wins that with that pass to AJ Green, and we're having a very different conversation. I thought it looked very decent, and I no longer buy into the idea that he's going to regress to such a point that he's unplayable.
I think that's
a good.
That's a good belief to have in him, especially as such a young quarterback.
I like his legs, man. He runs at the right times. All the young QBs kind of do that, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's
the young QB, he knows how to sprint for 4 yards. Such a unique character trait. Oh wow.
No, like 12 at a time, man. See, he has two. Oh, I guess he only. Okay, you're right. 4. You're right.
We all remember the highlights, man. That's all right.
I know, right?
I mean, I didn't see the same thing when I was looking back and watching the game that I think a lot of people saw with Joe Burrow. I mean, I certainly see the upside, don't get me wrong, but the way that some people will talk about him makes it kind of seem like, oh wow, he's already just a starting quarterback. Like it's going to be up from here. I think he's going to have the highs and lows of any normal rookie QB. And
yeah, so he's boomer bust. I mean, every rookie QB is that way.
Yeah, I just think that he has a higher, let's put it this way, potential upside than I think a lot of similarly aged quarterbacks would be.
I mean, he has so many weapons around him that puts him just in a unique tier.
Yeah, but he's on the Bengals.
Yeah, he's one of the worst offensive lines in football.
Okay. Yeah. I understand that there are problems. Like the Bengals are the Bengals. He's the number 1 overall pick for a reason. They don't go to like good teams.
He just went from like the Ravens of college football to the Bengals.
that is so disrespectful to LSU. Like, LSU probably was historically like the greatest college offense of all time.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my God. I'm a huge Joe Brady fan, so I'm going to be very intrigued to see what he's doing with the Panthers. But I think that Joe Burrow, like I wouldn't be surprised as of right now, dear listeners. In the past, he is currently 18 for 28 for $170 and a touchdown, which is very, very good, solid workman like numbers. But I feel like that people are going to the second he has a bad game, they're going to view this as like, oh well, I guess we were seeing his ceiling, just with how reactive NFL Twitter is.
No.
And what was that?
Joe Burrow is just he's going to be a high risk play. I mean, this is the same tired argument that you see in fantasy is there's nothing wrong with boomer bust players. Like it's just,
I'm playing them in a lot of leagues tonight.
Yeah, the rub is they're boomer bust. Like it's one of those things that you need to know. And first off, if you've got a quarterback, first off, you should be streaming your quarterback. Like you should not have drafted a quarterback. That was your mistake if you did that. And you need to pick up Joe Burrow. And when he has a favorable matchup against a team like maybe the Browns, and get a good couple of weeks out of him, and then you drop him and move on. Like. That is the way to play Joe Burrow for this season and for as such a young guy and any rookie quarterback. Like,
yeah, I mean,
my comment. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
My commentary for football, not fantasy, would be simple, and that is, it is pretty easy to see why he's tempting for people, but it's also easy to see he is a rookie on a terrible offensive line team with a coach that I don't actually believe in. And I think that he will have a good career outside of freak injuries or a Baker-like regression. But I think we're also seeing Baker bouncing back a little bit tonight. I just don't. I think
the Bengals. I just.
You need to get right games sometimes.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, I think at the end of the day, what we're going to learn about Joe Burrow is that he's not going to light the world on fire this year. He's not going to be, Patrick Mahomes after a year of sitting, or Lamar Jackson after a year of getting used to things. He's going to be competent enough to grow to a quarterback that you could actually trust in.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fear on Joe Burrow is the fact that he is older. I mean, he's older than Lamar Jackson, for example. So I know that gives some people a reason to pause or to want to limit on the idea of his upside. And again, I would probably do a comparison point of imagine if Sam Darnold just had weapons and a good coach around him. That's probably a better way to look at things when looking at Joe Burrow versus
Joe Burrow's more mobile than Sam Darnold, but yeah.
I mean, sorry.
I don't think
it's the one closest 1-to-1 I could think of recent rookie QBs.
But when you really think of that, if you replace the Bengals with Sam Darnold, they don't get any better.
Okay. I'm not gonna argue about like the awfulness that is Adam Gase, but
I'm just saying, like, that's the thing. Like when I feel like when you're talking about, oh, this QB is better than this QB. Okay, take the QB that's on the worst team. Okay, if you put Joe Burrow on the Jets, they're not getting any better either.
Yeah, I just think that when trying to chart a quarterback's growth, because we have been so spoiled by relatively early success of QBs, that Joe Burrow, worst case scenario, could be a Sam Darnold-esque type thing of where you see strong development points year 1 to year 2. I don't think he'll get sidetracked and get mono or have again the negativity of Adam Gase under him. So I see a lot more upside to him on that.
Sure.
That's just a couple thoughts about this game as it's happening right here. The marquee matchup, for lack of a better word, that's going to be happening on Sunday, aka the one game that I picked from the barrage of noon slates, is the one that I think probably could have the most fun when it comes to fantasy, and that's Falcons at Cowboys. And I say fantasy clearly because in the real world, I think it's going to be the Cowboys blowing out the Falcons fairly early on, then the Falcons doing a whole bunch of garbage time along the way. But no one does garbage time quite like Atlanta. They rush up to the line. They make the most out of it. Just expect Todd Gurley to.
It's incredibly frustrating when you're playing against somebody who's got a bunch of Falcons players, or even just like one or two, because you're like, oh, cool. There's 5 minutes left in the fourth. I don't have to worry about any additional points showing up. And the next thing you know, that your team you're playing all of a sudden has 50 more points on the board, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
But yeah, Russell Gage happened. That's what happened, motherfucker.
I think you can play all 3 wide receivers from both teams. In fact, I think you should play all 3 wide receivers for both teams. I think, I've been doing a lot of DFS lineups recently, and I've been using Calvin Ridley. I did last week as my primary number 1 receiver, and it worked out great. And I think you can do the same thing again this week. Maybe not quite as effectively as last week. I think he'll have a lower point total because I think the offense will be spread out more, and I think you'll see things from Hayden Hurst. But
especially
I think you can
with the linebacker injuries that the Cowboys are facing.
I think
you get a lot of value out of Michael Gallup. I mean,
yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a great game too. I think you can start every offensive starting weapon except for, I think Russell Gage you would only start as a desperation play.
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell Gage had, again, just such a terrific breakout game. He's I think the classic example if you're in some insanely deep league and people see that you have Russell Gage and you have him simply because, you drafted him and you didn't really know anything about it, but he popped off. Now is probably the time to sell before he turns back into a pumpkin. Do it right before the game, though. Find some real desperate motherfucker. I had a question when it comes to Michael Gallup, because weirdly he was going to be my fantasy loser, and it's all relative. I don't think he's necessarily going to have a bad game. I just think that CeeDee Lamb is already so much better than I thought he was going to be. I mean, like I can see. Let me again back up a little bit to let my brain override. CeeDee Lamb, was his first game with Dak Prescott, and he was already getting looks. He was already getting targets. There's only going to be more and more of that. The more practices that take place, the more games that take place, the better the in-game timing that we can watch occur. That is going to be something that can only happen through reps. And the person who I think that's going to hurt the most would be Michael Gallup. Now, I also understand with Blake Jarwin, their tight end, being hurt, that all of a sudden I would not invest in what's the tight end's name, Schultz or something.
No,
like I wouldn't expect him to get any action whatsoever.
I mean, he will, just because they have to mix it up a little bit. But
but I mean, I think in reality, CeeDee Lamb will get whatever targets he got last game into the majority probably of what Jarwin was getting. But
I disagree, actually.
Really? Okay.
I think CeeDee Lamb will be an excellent play, but I actually think that Gallup will be the primary beneficiary, and actually I think Zeke will too. There's a lot of correlation between lack of tight end targets and increase in targets to the running back, and I think Zeke showed that he can definitely handle a catch and play workload, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so I think we will see a large amount of Zeke passes,
sure, and
we will also see Gallup opposite Amari Cooper effectively as a secondary option. And I think that it's going to be a mixed bag. I don't think that at any point I don't think that we're going to be thrilled with the choices made by certain Cowboys coaches in terms of who to pass it to, but I actually think Gallup is going to get a lot of goal line opportunities. And
he's the big target, and he's the down the field target too. So he's your risk reward.
I mean, again, I don't think that Gallup will have a bad game, as I was attempting to preface here. I just thought that CeeDee Lamb is really on the come up.
I agree completely. I just think that we'll see Gallup getting what would have been Jarwin's goal line work.
Okay. Yeah. As a Michael Gallup owner, I pray to God that you are right, because I need to win this week.
Out of all three receivers to make 1,000 yards, I'm the most worried about Amari Cooper, just because injuries.
Yeah. He was already limited in practice. Yeah. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the story is going to be. Also, before I forget here, what were our picks going to be for Falcons at Cowboys? Who are we actually picking to win the game? I understand, I already let my bias show of I think the Cowboys are gonna cruise pretty early on, but y'all feel similarly?
I do.
I think that the Cowboys will win, but I think it's gonna I think Mike McCarthy is gonna make it look a lot messier than it needs to.
Oh
yeah.
It's Mike McCarthy. Come on now. We can't.
These are two of the messiest teams in the league as is. So
Dan Quinn loves being messy. It's going to be Dante Fowler certainly trying to run through the paper mache line of whoever the Cowboys have on the what is it, the left side, right? That's where all the injuries are.
Oh yeah, I think so.
So I'm expecting.
I predict the Falcons pick 6 to win the game.
Oh, really? Okay. As a Dak owner, I also have to say I hope you're wrong. So I hate this because I normally really don't like the Cowboys. Like I really don't. It's because I didn't like Jason Garrett. I didn't like the amount of control and just how milk toast the Cowboys were based on their potential. And so I went all in with enjoying what they could be. On the offensive upside, and so I am now starting to feel pain of a Cowboys fan of now watching them underproduce and the squander potential and the anti-hype, which I knew existed, but now at owning several shares of them on a variety of fantasy teams, it is really coming home to roost, and there's pain in the offering this week. So,
as somebody who's playing Dak Prescott this week, not personally, who's playing against Dak Prescott this week, I think our biggest fantasy loser of this game is going to be Dak Prescott with 2 pick sixes.
2 pick sixes. Oh,
see,
brutal.
This is the only way that the Falcons win this game, too.
Yeah, so. No, and first, it's not going to be like a glorious pick 6. You see, they stared down Dak Prescott and they saw where his eyes were going and then just snatched the ball out of the air. It's going to be 2 pop-ups in the air that just happens to fall into like a lineman's hands, and that lineman happens to only be like 6 yards from the end zone.
I appreciate
these aren't glorious running it back 102 yards to get the pick 6.
Oh, I see. You're not even going to let Dak Prescott get the yards in fantasy from that sort of type situation. I see.
It's very possible. Like, if we're going to be honest, it's like Dak's an excellent quarterback, but Amari Cooper is a walking like variance machine.
Oh yeah. I hate it because what was it last year when like announcers would give Amari Cooper credit for playing through an injury? They would, and it either wouldn't be reported that well, or he would say he's perfectly fine, but then after the game he would say like, "Oh yeah, my hamstring was bad, or my ankle was hurt, or whatever." And just as a fantasy owner, I can only imagine the
because
fury.
he had 4 catches for 30 yards.
Yeah. What was it? Was it a Thanksgiving Day game? The one where he had like 1 catch for 7 yards last year? Was that the one? Oh God, yeah. Just I can't think about that. I have to imagine the upside. Think positive thoughts. And with that in mind, then moving into the afternoon game of Ravens at Texans. Now, why, pray tell, would this be my fantasy thing? Well, partially because I enjoy keeping it in Texas, because being from Houston, I enjoy.
I was going to say, are you a masochist?
Yeah, but I also wanted to highlight, I think, all of the people who are jumping on the Will Fuller bandwagon, not out of necessity, but just genuinely believing.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Will Fuller will give you 1 40-point game a season, and the rest of the time he'll give you 6-point games if you're lucky.
Don't do it.
And I really think that this is going to be the game where he gets hurt. I hate like predicting injuries because I feel like that that's just a bad thing to do into the universe. But like this is going to be the game that I can see him just getting.
He's going to run into Patrick Queen. Yeah. He's going to run into Patrick Queen and fall down with a broken hamstring. And I do say broken. Somehow he's going to break the hamstring.
I mean, the fact that like his Will Fuller's value over replacement is barely above 0 is the fact that like don't bet on Will Fuller. You can do better. Like depending on the size of your league, like maybe if you're in a 14-team league. Okay, like that's a Will Fuller out of necessity situation. But like if you're in a 10-man or even a 12-man, I would not touch Will Fuller with a 10-foot pole. Unless you got like a weird, like a warm tingling feeling thinking about Will Fuller, and somehow you're a master of chaos, like myself, then you have to pick up Will Fuller and play him for his 40-point game and then trade him to somebody else immediately.
Exactly.
If you're in a league that rewards specifically the number of yards divided by the number of targets, so it's an anti-PPR league, play Will Fuller.
I do. Man. There's so many like quirky fantasy things. I mean, being involved in a league that is doing this quirky niche thing itself is interesting. But I always wonder about like what is going to be the next step. When will Roto Fantasy Football actually come into existence, into the mainstream?
That's terrible. That's terrible. Stop that.
You've talked so much about it, and I don't.
It's a promised land. It's a promised land for me. It's where I'll finally go and be happy. In terms of fantasy winners, though, I would probably say, oh, okay. All right, Gabe. I see you. All right. Real quick, before you leave, what's your prediction point on Ravens at Texans?
Ravens all the way.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all take it easy.
Bye. Deuces. All right, and then there were 3, back to a 3-person layout. That's right, getting professional up in here. So let me make this work, buddy. Okay. Let me see. All right, so yeah. What were y'all thinking about with the Ravens and the Texans? any belief that the Texans could maybe pull something off, pull something out of their ass on this? I mean, I don't, but I'm just trying
to
do my
receiver by
hosting
committee
duties.
is enough.
I think it'll be a better game for Mark Ingram because I think that
yeah,
he's not going to get vultured by the rookie twice.
I just think that they're going to grind it out. Houston does not have a defensive line when it comes to actual pressure in the backfield, and you don't need Lamar Jackson to air it out and risk, worrying about any variance there. You can just have, a winning strategy of sticking around with just good old Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins and just chill for a while.
No, I
make the
absolutely.
wide receiver by committee beat you.
No, I mean, I think that, I would probably say that the Ravens rushing attack would be the big winners of this. I mean, the Texans turned CEH. Is that what we're going with as his nickname, by the way? CEH?
Yeah.
I feel like he deserves better, but okay. That's fine. Football community. Yeah. Oh, my God. Hell yeah. Whatever. He'll do something this year, and then that will become his thing. But they turned him into 130-yard rusher, Like they clearly can't stop anyone.
And they give up big plays, and both J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingrams are big play running backs.
Yep. I don't see any reason to think that just how the Patriots and Dolphins game was super short last week, I would expect this to probably also be one of the earliest finishers, just by the Ravens doing this, 6 yards of play, every play on the ground, no hurry up, just let the clock do whatever it does. And then they win probably on the score that will look really good, like 28-17 or something. But the time of possession will be like 40-20, or it'll just be ridiculous.
Yeah, probably.
So don't watch it.
No, not watch it. But in terms of fantasy focused point, if you're doing some sort of DFS thing, I can't see you going wrong with anyone than on the Ravens on the ground game there. So that takes us to then the Sunday Night Football matchup, the game that NBC has said that this is the marquee. This is the thing that they want everyone to turn their eyeballs to and to pay attention to, and that is Ravens at Seahawks. So,
yeah, you sure it's the Ravens?
God damn it! I'm sorry, Patriots at Seahawks. Ravens at Seahawks would actually be probably a much better TV pairing there, but it's Patriots at Seahawks here. So, Dred, being the Boston apologist that you are, what are your feelings on the Cam Newton Wakanda Forever Patriots as the social media is pushing?
I think Bob Kraft is still allegedly complicit in sex trafficking.
He supports sex workers.
He supports them in the definitely healthy, good way.
Yes. Absolutely.
I also think Bill Belichick is the best coach of all time, who also cheats not because he has to, but because he gets bored. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a mistake of the league to give the Patriots somebody who makes them likable.
Yeah. What is the deal with that overall, by the way? Can the league tell a team, no, you can't have that player? Just like how the NBA does with Chris Paul every couple of years.
I mean, I guess the commissioner can say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to put this player on the list," whenever they ask.
Oh yeah, I guess
it's like collusion against one team. Like, I'm going to put the player on the list and then tell another team, "Yeah, you can have him. He's only going to get 2 games or whatever."
You have what's called the commissioner's exempt list, but that's not usually used for players that are just likable guys that we don't want the Patriots to get.
Yeah, I mean, man. Cam Newton, my God. So real quick, for anyone not paying attention to that game, he played, I think, a lot better than the stat line would lead people to suggest. I mean, he rushed for 75 yards. He threw for, 150?
He's throwing to scrubs, too. It's not like he's throwing to some great receiver core.
Like, I'm not saying that it's weird that the Patriots cut Mohamed Sanu because it seemed like they could use any wide receiver bodies out there on the field. But it probably boiled down to the fact that Bill Belichick wanted another tight end who could block to make the active 53, and that's just going to be what he does. Because the Patriots, they seem to be enjoying themselves with this new look and the new style.
It's one game. It's also just like Cam Newton got to prove that he's worth the NFL not ignoring him, and the Patriots got to prove that Tom Brady wasn't the reason why they were great.
Yeah, I guess, again, I don't want to fall into hyperbole too much, but it counteracts the other narrative, speaking of hyperbole, of letting Russ cook, which is seemingly what the Seahawks have decided to do. That's really what I think that they should continue to do. Russell Wilson just was a madman against the Falcons last week. And so it's going to be curious to see what he does against what's probably the best secondary in the league. I'm not sure probably what the others in contention would be right now, but I don't have any reason not to believe in the back seven of the Patriots.
They definitely have the best play disruptor cornerback. And, there's a huge debate in football in general about whether the cornerback you want is the tackling cornerback, or if you want the big game quarterback. And Stephon Gilmore is not really he's not a pick six cornerback. He's not Jalen is it Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. He's not Ramsey. He's, I think, a better cornerback, but he is a shutdown cornerback. So I don't expect Russ's top target to be great. I expect this to be a good game for DK Metcalf.
Good. I think that Metcalf could probably do a whole lot of burning on the other side of the field. Do you think that the Seahawks, if they, let's assume that Russell Wilson throws like an interception on the second drive in the first quarter, then they fall back into their ways and say, you know what, we're going to try and run the ball. We're going to let Chris Carson try and do his thing. We're going to let, my God, who's the second back in Seattle?
Rashad Penny, but he's hurt. Second back.
DJ Dallas.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, do we let the DJ release the mixtapes? Is that what we can say now? Whenever he runs, an extended play, an LP. Negative yard, that's a demo.
I don't think that's Pete Carroll's style to say, "Oh no, Russ doesn't look on his game." Like Russ's greatness, you're going to let Russ throw it out even if he's having a bad day.
Pete Carroll's style. What are you talking about?
Pete Carroll's style has never been to react to Russ being bad. Pete Carroll has been to preemptively not let Russ cook. And I don't think we're going to get into a position where that's the realistic situation, because if it's that bad and Pete Carroll you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Mm-hmm. It's going to be you let Russ cook once and it worked out, and now if you go back to being conservative and you don't and it doesn't immediately work, I think what's going to actually happen is they're just going to start with a more conservative game plan, and you're going to see more. Running back tight end sets where you have tight end lead blocker for some running backs. I think you'll see a lot of chunk yardage. And then I think that Cam Newton will once again surprise the surprisingly weak Seattle secondary, and then Russell cook again.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Any big believers though on any of the Patriots? I mean, outside of Cam Newton, I guess, any skill positions that you think maybe would be worth kind of buying low on, especially after this game, maybe?
Keep an eye, maybe put on the back of your bench on Devin Asiasi, the rookie tight end. He got a surprising amount of snap percentage. I can actually look it up right now.
All right.
And not for nothing, Cam Newton does throw tight ends. And I think he got 10 snaps, which is a lot for a rookie. I'm sorry, it was not Devin Asiasi that got the majority of snaps that I was thinking. It's Ryan Izzo,
okay,
which is the person you should watch out for, not Devin Asiasi. My apologies. But either way, keep an eye out for a tight end to stick on the end of your bench.
Okay. Interesting.
I think this is also kind of a James White game where he gets a touchdown.
You think so? You think that this is where they start to kind of figure out their duo with each other?
He's their secret weapon. He's Bill Belichick. He's like, all right, I need a touchdown. It's a James White drive.
He can do it exactly once in a game every half season.
Once in a game.
Yep.
No, it's like every 3 games, you know.
Oh, yeah. What's our secret? Well, he's going to line up in the backfield, and he's going to run out there, be about 3 yards deep, and we're going to throw it to him. It'll work eventually at some point. He'll catch it. Man. Is there like a player, I was going to say receiver or not, but I mean, he's basically a receiver, that has a higher yards after the catch ratio than James White? Because
Tariq Cohen.
No, yeah, I can see that. But he just doesn't get nearly as many opportunities because the Bears are just miserable.
I can imagine Tariq Cohen deciding to, after I think he has 2 years left on his contract, but deciding to then just fill in for James White when James White hangs up his cleats.
Oh, Bill Belichick he'll keep coaching for that.
Yeah. Just Cam Newton and Tariq Cohen 3 years from now, just being the best of buddies on the Patriots.
Cam Newton makes $21 million a year.
He wouldn't have it any other way. I think that the Seahawks are just gonna destroy the Patriots. I wish I could, speak more highly, because I do like the Patriots a lot. They are a guilty pleasure of mine. Again, as discussed, it's nice that they have someone I can actually root for. I just think that the Seahawks are so good right now. I thought that they would be slow coming out of the gate. I did not see that. I have no reason not to assume that they're just going to keep dropping the hammer down while they can. And I think that the Patriots, who beat the Dolphins by 10 points, probably will have a lot more of their flaws exposed this time around. So that would be what I would expect. What about y'all?
I think that's probably pretty accurate.
I mean, I don't know. I think Bill Belichick is just going to find a way to make it a game. It's just what he does. I mean, it's going to come down to the wire. I don't think there's any way the Seahawks blow them out.
Do you think it'll be like one score going into the fourth, or are we talking like, Oh
yeah. No, okay. It's not going to, like, he can't. The Patriots aren't set up to make a multi-touchdown comeback, but they are good enough to like keep it within 10 points at the worst.
Okay.
And just turn on the clamps and use the clock up and find a way to win.
That's going to make the narrative, by the way, because I would imagine the Bucs will beat the Panthers this week. So that means then the Bucs will be 1-1. And then the Patriots will be 1-1. That discourse is going to just be so annoying.
But you're banking on the Patriots to lose, and I know it's not the Patriots of norm, but I mean their offense, I would say, is right on par with their offense last year.
Yes, that historically great offense that wasn't
historically
buoyed.
Still above league average somehow, but the defense was just playing out of their minds.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, getting good field position does some magical things to you. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, and if anything, Cam's got to be able to produce more yards than Tom Brady at this point in their careers. Like,
I feel so bad for Cam Newton, because you have to know, at least on some level, that Bill Belichick, you signed a 1-year deal. He's probably does not care about your long-term future health and longevity. So
no, but you don't kind of either. You're out here with something to prove, and the thing you need to prove is that you can still play
do those things. Yeah, you can be that linebacker with the ball that runs through and for a 3-yard QB sneak at the goal line.
Exactly.
I mean, the Patriots are begging for a wide receiver other than Odell Beckham Jr. to become available.
Antonio Brown 2.0 is that what we're hoping?
You just don't you can't realistically put Odell on the same team as Cam Newton.
No.
And Odell's just not a guy that Belichick's
what was the last
with.
good wide receiver that the Patriots drafted? What was his
Never.
name?
Julian Edelman is a quarterback.
Let's see here. I might be
it's Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, it's
I don't mean like in terms of pass catchers. I meant.
I know. You mean actual receivers, but that's the thing is like
they draft terribly.
Yeah, they give it like they don't ever have a first round pick.
Yeah,
because they make.
But you would expect
trades
him
in the
to
middle
have
of the
like
season.
some like second round, third round guy that would do it. And okay, the last one that I'm seeing pop up is legitimately Deion Branch. Fuck this.
Yeah, I think that's correct too. Like
that is so. Oh my god, so fucking frustrating. But I mean, yeah, not wrong. I guess I just would have imagined. I mean, that really seems to be quite a vulnerable spot, you would imagine. But kudos to Bill Belichick for working around that, because you would imagine if some coach had a history of, well, it's been 15 years since our last good drafted wide receiver, that would come up as a storyline. But
I mean, Bill Belichick invented the short passing game, the modern short passing game that the Saints use. I mean, that's Bill Belichick with Sean Payton's twist on it or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was a college coach that probably Bill stole it from first.
Yeah, probably a literal small school.
Yeah,
it was probably a high school 7-man team coach that won the like 3A champion, like Christian League championship in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, like 20 years in a row. And that's where Bill Belichick got the modern short passing game from.
That guy got paid $350,000 to just give his playbook to Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
He's been coasting off of it. Yeah. Well, that's going to be, I think an interesting setup. The last game on the roster is, of course, the Monday Night Football game, which it's actually, not half bad this week. I'm really expecting us moving forward to have a fair amount of fun with this, because those games that they think will be good for Monday Night Football regularly just turn into horror shows all the time. And so this week it's kind of interesting, of the Saints at the Raiders. So the Saints are going to be playing at Las Vegas. I don't even know what the name of the stadium for the Raiders are. Do you know what it is temporarily?
I have no idea. It's the Toilet Bowl for all I care. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's called Allegiant Stadium. It's the UNLV. Well, I'm sorry. It's going to be the one. Where are they currently playing right now? I have no idea.
Don't know either.
No, it says that it's actually going to be playing on September 21st, 2020. So that would mean Monday night.
Yeah.
They're claiming
at Allegiant Stadium.
So there's this relatively new stadium that popped up that completely got overshadowed by the LA stadium. Good job for you.
Also, guys. COVID and everything else. And...
Well, we don't need to talk about that. But, that worked out well for UNLV, I guess, that they were getting a brand new stadium, then they could share it with the Raiders before then they got their own stadium.
If you're looking for an NFL underdog, put a little on the Raiders.
Oh God!
Against the Saints with an injured Michael Thomas.
Oh no!
Michael Thomas, who by the way is currently attempting to persuade his team to let him play.
Why? Why is Michael Thomas doing this? What contract incentive kicks in if he plays?
No, he's just a maniac who wants to play, and also I think he correctly identifies that Drew Brees can't throw it down the field anymore.
Hell
exactly.
Yeah.
He is their passing game. Even with Emmanuel Sanders, it doesn't matter. Michael Thomas is the passing game.
Just watching Emmanuel Sanders be on the Saints is just bizarre for me to look at, because it was already weird, because he came in as a Steeler, then he was a Bronco, then he was a 49er, for a little bit. But then to see him now as a Saint, for whatever reason, this is the one that's throwing me off. I don't know why.
I don't blame you. I think it's incredibly odd, and frankly speaking, it feels like it's a weird thing to say, but it feels like he's already been a Saint somehow. Like somehow this is a return.
Yeah. Well, because in my head, I think that the 49ers realized that they didn't have any wide receivers, and so they signed him. That's what has processed in my head. And so then anytime I see him in a Saints uniform, it's just oh, that's right. They didn't do that decision that they obviously should have done. What's happening here? Okay. Well, kudos to you, I guess. Let's get really excited for Trent Taylor to be your main receiving option.
Hey, I think we should take a look at what is his name? The constantly injured guy from the Saints.
Tre'Quan Smith?
Tre'Quan Smith. I think Tre'Quan Smith has a chance because Emmanuel Sanders also missed practice this week.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is Narrative Street, baby.
Okay, so we're going to see Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. They're going to be doing some weird pony style sets, right?
Latavius Murray sucks. I don't know if you watched him last week, but he was god awful.
That may be the case, but if you're the Saints, what do? You need to have another short receiving option.
That's what I'm saying. That's why, this is the week. If you want to bet on a dog out of all these games, take the Raiders. Take the Raiders.
I won't put it past you. Derek Carr, I think, is going to be a much better quarterback than a lot of people might be considering, because he was such a
when I said week one was going to be his coming home party, you laughed at me.
It was Josh Jacobs' coming home party. No one watched that game against the Panthers. It was who actually surprised me? Derek Carr. That's the guy.
But hey, as long as Henry Ruggs can get on the field and run a 4.4, then they're going to throw the ball down the field.
I think the Raiders have a chance. I think that the genuine answer about whatever we want to say about the Raiders is that they will probably still lose, but I think they will cover the spread.
Yeah.
That's the solid betting advice here.
I don't bet. I play daily fantasy, which is, if I'm not lying to myself, the same thing. But
it is the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's not betting. You see, all I'm doing is attempting to predict outcomes in the future and trusting my intuition. Yeah, that's what's happening here. And yes, it does cost money for me to play in these contests. And yes, I do get money back if then I win these contests. But no, not that.
And I am, in fact, not playing against an entity, but rather I am playing against my fellow players who are putting into the same pool.
Yeah,
but completely different, clearly.
Yes.
It is different when you're only taking money from your friends. That's a different level of betting than going against the house. I will back you up on this.
Yeah, look,
the degenerate gamblers are now in full control of the podcast as we justify this behavior.
And once again, I will completely cop to this, but I do play daily fantasy, and I do think that our good friend the Raiders will cover the spread. I don't think that they are going to make noise in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, what do you do if you have Hunter Renfrow right now?
don't play Hunter Renfrow.
Let's assume you got talked into Hunter Renfrow by someone. Not going to name names or anything.
You didn't. What league did you? Oh, you're in so many leagues.
Yeah, exactly. Just because I didn't take your advice
in
one league doesn't mean I held it as gospel truth in another, sir.
I have Hunter Renfrow in a lot of leagues actually, and I would not play him in any of them right now. I think I will play him later when one of the largely fragile Raiders receivers takes an injury, and we don't need to worry about whether it is the now or the later, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I think that also Josh Jacobs is in the middle of warpath via Gruden. Gruden's proven everyone wrong. Although
said that narrative for a while.
Well, I mean, Kyler Murray's putting up a hell of a show himself. So I think that if the Cardinals play beforehand, we need to figure out what Kyler Murray's stat line was, because then we'll know that Josh Jacobs will be getting pushed to have at least similar stats, if not better than that. Or feed him.
That is 100% correct.
It's going full pettiness. The exact same reason why, like with the Texans, I would believe that Bill O'Brien will probably pull David Johnson to try and not get him injured in the second half against the Ravens.
He's going to let him get one good run, and then afterwards it's done.
Yeah, just he can't risk it. He can't make the trade look bad after Nuke Hopkins goes off for 150 yards, 12 catches, and a touchdown. Like, it's just you can't do that.
This year is just all about the Cardinals making everyone else look dumb.
Really?
I mean, who bet on the Cardinals, or who told you to say the Cardinals were going to win week 1?
You know what? You did. And
I also said Miami was going to win and Cleveland was going to win.
Yeah, you had a lot of big ones.
Hey, look, you take enough big swings.
Exactly.
Look, I don't need to be
you bet
a good
on
average.
Enough Phoenix Suns, you eventually win with the Phoenix Suns.
Exactly.
That's the philosophy here. This has just been a blast to kind of recap here. Are there any fantasy people this week that we haven't talked about from these games that you feel like, hey, kind of flying under the radar, or hey, this isn't very big market share owned or on the DFS circuit? Someone to grab.
Yeah, I would say Hayden Hurst is a tight end that if you're spending down, he's one of my 2 favorite cheaper tight ends. Matt Ryan is a substantial, at least on FanDuel, he's at like 7,400, which is substantially cheaper than I would say like 90% of the decent, like not 90%, but like he's like the 8th or 9th most, I think he may be even the 10th most expensive quarterback. And I don't think he'll be lower than the 6th best quarterback on the week. And he's certainly, I wouldn't say like he's one of the ones I would say is most likely to have a good week.
Mm-hmm. I see that happening. Again, garbage time. Can't stress it enough. It is
the Cowboys secondary is just god awful.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah. Unless somehow the defensive line just plays out of their mind the entire game.
Aldon Smith continues to be Aldon Smith of 2015, in other words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be fun, but I guess to anyone still checking out the stream, or to anyone who's listening right now to this podcast the morning after, just wanted to say thank you for checking us out. Also, be sure and check us out on Twitter at Sports Radio 1917. Also, please let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Hit me up on Twitter. Find me at Culture Truther. Don't be afraid of the locked account. I just don't like random screenshots of my tweets popping up places. So, what have y'all got to plug? What's going on in y'all's world?
I am currently very invested in people making sure that they get themselves basic first aid training. I think we're at a stage where it would be very important for you to be able to maybe help one of your friends or loved ones out. And so I think that now is the time, if you want to take a basic medic course, now is the best time to do it.
Hell yeah. That's good, solid advice. What about you, Mitch? What's happening?
Dude, I'm trying to survive myself No, so if you have any life advice on how to like survive this hellhole, then feel free to, I don't know, get it to me somehow through Kelton, I guess.
Yeah. If you are a Nigerian prince and you're having difficulty transferring a large sum of money, please hit us up. We are in desperate need of accepting a finder's fee to help bankroll our competitive natures and not at all gambling spirits. So we'll see how it goes from there. But without further ado, just know that we love you. Have a blast. I mean, hopefully your weekend's great. And deuces.